Well, graduands in the hall and before me and graduands behind me, it's great to have you here. And to the families, friends, supporters and colleagues, it's wonderful to have you here in this great afternoon of celebration here in the Barony Hall, which is one of the jewels in the university's estate crown. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll graduate around 4,000 people out of this hall. But the most important people in the hall today are here with their gowns on, ready to celebrate the fantastic achievements, their hard work, and they're looking forward to their careers and the lives ahead of them. The university itself always sees as the highlights of the day, and that's why we're dressed in our finery. Some of us with our penguin suits on, some of us with our gowns, but nonetheless, we're always very happy to be here with you. These occasions are special enough, but occasionally we get a chance to make them even more special when we celebrate the achievements of some outstanding professionals, whether they be from academia, industry, or the public sector. And in a few moments, you'll hear about the details of a great friend of this university, Professor Carl Lubin, who is here. I'm not going to take away the impact of Professor Duncan Graham, who's going to introduce our honorary graduate, because we'll start the celebration by letting you know about Carl's achievements and what he has done to deserve this recognition. So, for those of you that will come up shortly, we'll have a 45-minute ceremony. You'll come across the stage. I'm going to cap you, which is a reflection of an ancient ceremony of a rite of passage. And this kneeler that sits before me is a pretty plain bit of furniture. But the way that we used to do it was I'd either be sitting or the Chancellor would be sitting and each of the graduates would come and kneel and we would cap you. That doesn't feel quite as egalitarian as it should be, so we're a little bit more modern about this, but we keep it nonetheless. I've knelt on this 3 times for my bachelor's degree, my master's degree and my PhD, and I reckon there's been about 120,000 sets of knees on this kneeler, so I feel privileged that whilst you don't need to kneel on it, you can certainly enjoy the fact that you're joining a big community of Strathclyde alum. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to declare this congregation open, and I'm going to begin by inviting Professor Duncan Graham to introduce our honorary graduate. Enjoy and relax. And by the way, when your family members come up, feel free to let them know you're in the hall. We're always happy to hear polite applause, but we're happy to hear other forms of celebration as well. So enjoy, and let's see if we can get on with it. Duncan, over to you.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present to you Professor Dr. Carl Christian Adrianus Maria Laubin. Professor Carl Laubin originally studied chemical engineering in Eindhoven, and after working as a researcher at Wageningen and in industry, he moved to Delft University of Technology, where he became Professor of Bioprocess Engineering. He played a key role at both national and international levels, including as a chair of the European Federation of Biotechnology, and as a researcher, he's published more than 200 scientific papers and supervised over 30 PhD students. His outstanding contributions to research, teaching and society have already been recognised in 2008 by the Queen of the Netherlands when she appointed him an officer in the Order of the Oranje Nassau. In 2010, he became the Rector Magnificus of Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands, one of the leading European universities of technology. With his characteristic energy and focus, he set about the expansion of the university, its collaboration with national and international partners, and its partnerships with government and industry. In the 8 years he was Rector Magnificus, and since, he has had an enormous influence on research collaboration, on European university collaboration, and on international research policy. He drove regional collaborations between the highly complementary universities of Delft, Leiden and the Erasmus in Rotterdam, leading to internationally high-profile centres, such as the groundbreaking Holland Proton Therapy Centre. He took on the role of President of CESAR, the main association of universities of science and technology in Europe, and immediately set about building its organisation to make it the preeminent, overarching association of European universities of science and technology, a highly active and influential group, influencing policy in Brussels and supporting exchanges between its members. Strathclyde's close connection with Carl began when we became members of CISAR under his presidency. His enthusiastic support for Strathclyde was immediately obvious, and his canny eye for process and procedure ensured that Strathclyde could be formally accepted as a member at its annual meeting, with our colleague Tim Bedford being elected to its board only minutes afterwards. When Carl stepped down after 4 years, he was followed by our principal, Sir Jim MacDonald, but stayed as Vice President to continue supporting the organisation, and that collaboration has created a long-standing bond. I now come to the final point about his contribution, indeed his ongoing leadership to research policy and practice in open science. Recognising the challenges of ever-increasing amounts of research data, the Dutch Tech Centre for Life Sciences, which he then chaired, co-organised a workshop in 2014 where the concept of FAIR data was developed. The FAIR principle says that research data should be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. This principle has now been accepted all over the world and has become the basis for open data and vital for reproducibility in science. Research funders in the UK, Europe, and in much of the world now require research data to be stored and publicly accessible, and that is open data. Carl has championed open science and FAIR data through Delft University of Technology and the Open Science Task Force of CISAR, as chair of the European Open Science Cloud, and since 2020 as president of the European Open Science Cloud Association. This will implement Europe's virtual environment for all researchers to store, manage, analyse and reuse data for research, innovation and educational purposes. It provides the strategic vision and investment to make truly fair data a reality. Key factors in driving this agenda, as with other initiatives I have mentioned, have been the vision, energy and focus of Carl. It is with great pleasure, therefore, Principal and Vice-Chancellor, that with the authority of Senate, I ask you to confer upon Professor Carl Laubin the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa.
I create you Doctor of Science honoris causa. We are very proud to have you associated with Strathclyde and very welcome to the Strathclyde family. Many congratulations. I'm delighted.
Dear Principal, dear Presenter, thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words to you and to the audience here. And let me start by thanking the Senate of this university for bestowing this honor on me. I would have liked specifically to mention the people that have been influential, and you, Sir Jim, are one of them. Tim Bedford, another one, could not be here today. And yes, without Duncan Graham today, we would have managed either. Thank you for your trust in me, and thank you for the nice words. I really feel truly honored by this. I have learned to know the University of Strathclyde through CISAR, as was mentioned in Duncan's address, a European network of engineering universities or universities of science and technology that was mentioned before. And it's the link with the Delft University of Technology and the extra link the Delft University of Technology has with Strathclyde, with the University of Strathclyde, is that of the European Centre on European Politics, a research centre which was started here in the University of Strathclyde and expanded in a joint venture, you could say, with the Delft University of Technology. But it's especially through the personal and professional connections I have and have had with people like Jim MacDonald and Tim Bedford that I really have made an admiration for this university. I've become to admire the University of Strathclyde enormously for their courage, for their endeavour, for their strength and for their achievements. At the Delft University of Technology, an honorary doctorate would have been conferred during what we call our Dies Natalis, the yearly celebration of the birthday of the university. But here it's a very special and a very nice occasion to be among the graduation ceremony of so many younger people of the coming generation. I feel somewhat old in this audience, somewhat older, I would say. I hope also somewhat wiser over the years. But let me start by congratulating all of you with what will still happen today, that you will get also a degree given to you by the University of Strathclyde. And receiving this degree from this, what I would call one of the best universities of science and technology, is what will remain with you. Actually, education is the most precious gift you can have in life. It has helped me enormously by choosing, let's say, always the most challenging level I could aim for to come through life and to become what I have become. And let me give you a few life lessons, if I may. Things I've come across over time that might help you. And I will sum up at the end with a formula to help you remember, because these life lessons are not easily remembered. First of all, I would say, dare to dream. If you dare to dream, follow your dream, don't give up. Secondly, follow your passion, follow your drive and ambition. That will help you coming there where you want to come. Even if people say you're not going to make it, don't give up. And like this university, have courage. Take risks. Dare to do the things where other people tend to say, don't do that. Not unnecessary risk, but risk in trying to get there where you are sure you're going to come. Trust yourself in the choice you've made. Trusting yourself in the choice you've made is helpful, and don't look too much back on the choices you've made, because there will be many more choices in the future. You can always go a little bit left or a little bit right. You can turn it a little bit in the more appropriate direction, as long as you roughly have chosen the right path. If you want to study engineering, don't worry whether it's physics, mathematics, or chemical engineering. Do it, and you can always turn it around a little bit to the left or to the right. Yes, you shouldn't start with the French language if you want to do engineering, but that knowledge you may have that you roughly make the right choice. Trust and engage in others in order to be able to give back later on. I find it the most rewarding thing in my part of life at an older age to be giving back to people. If you can give back the things you've learned, that is very, very rewarding, more than I had expected when I start doing that more often. If you're young and ambitious, you tend not to think about that too much. My lesson to you, my suggestion to you would be to start with that as early as possible. Be honest to yourself and cherish the truth. That is an enormous value. There's nothing above the truth, I would say. And don't be afraid to engage in a proper self-reflection. Ask other people for reflecting on you. Don't forget that. It's an important asset. They will see things in you you haven't seen yourself, and you can learn from them. All these lessons are way too much to directly remember. And therefore, I came up with the following acronym that I have shared with the community in Delft, and that now is the set of values we use in the university. And it contains most of the things I've just mentioned. And I would like to share this acronym with you and explain it. The acronym is very simple. It's called DIRECT. And I tend to say people in Delft are direct, but I also dare to say people in Strathclyde are rather direct, especially if I meet Jim. Diversity is the first of direct, the D of direct. Integrity is the I of direct. Respect is the R within direct. Engagement is the E. Courage is the C. And trust, above all, is the T at the end. So you just remember the word direct, and you have all these words at hand. Many of you will grow into leading positions in the future. If you take these values for the group or community you will be leading, it will surely help you in making you better leaders. And what is the best thing to have? The best leaders make the best of this world. Thank you.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for Research in the Department of Physics, Georgia Adam. James Denholm. Ilian Despard. Timothy Philip Fraser. Shan Yu He. Dimitar Jevtiks. Lucia Spazewski. For the degree of Master of Science in Optical Technologies, Muguv Maruzani. For the degree of Master of Physics in Physics, Nicola May Agnew. Benedict Vincent Kuti. Gemma Louise Dallas. Emma Helen Deegan. Finn Burns Dempsey. James Sakari Hani Dixon. Jordan Doran. Alistair John Gorey. Paul Martin Ireland. Zach Mark Johnston. Brandon Mills. Kirsty Morrison. Ross Patterson. Eamon Salim Shazai. Dominic Vugrinic. Martin Samuel Williams. Brandon Bartlett. Molly Brown. Eva Carol Canning. Ellie Catherine Patricia Cope. Malcolm Roy Crompton, Cameron William Graham, Oliver Humphreys, Elizabeth Rose Jennings, Adam James McMillan, Rory McNeil, Stuart Alistair Melville, Kyle John Francis O'Neill, Joshua O'Shea, Kay Fiona Elizabeth Polland, Jack William Cumming, in Physics with Advanced Research, Jose Enrique Araca Solom, Stuart Scott Bartholomew, Robbie Cruikshank, Lenhard Cohen, Ben Kieran Torrance, Clemens Ulam, for the degree of Master of Pharmacy in Pharmacy, Rabia Afzal, Zainab Ahmed, Mari Ann Anderson, Fariba Atari Mayandoab, Sarah Aziz, Sarah Jane Baird, Lucy Barr, Lauren Beatty, Jennifer Marie Beckett, Himanshu Bhatt, Emma Elizabeth Black, Megan Boyle, Laura Ellen Rose Brennan, Sean Brian Brogan, Dara Castro, Sarah Chamberlain, Hiba Alham Javed Chaudhry, Sana Rahman Shari, Aaron Jason Clark, Beth Coughlin. Amanda Josephine Curry. Claire Jenny Cowens. Andrea Denicia Creatoro. Nadia Qureshi. Amber Lucy Cuthbertson. Arthur Diab. Amy Douglas. Kira Nicole Drummond. Erin Duke. Sarah Elder. Laura Flanagan. Abigail Christina Gillespie. Nogoil Goodwin. Hadika Hamid. Faroush Hekmat Pana. Emma Margaret Hill. Kalina Atanasova Ionova. Neiba Islam Jabbar. Catherine Rosie Jackson. Wallace Mary Jameson. Sana Javed. Kelsey Kayla. Lauren Hannah Kay. Nida Keani. Megan Joan Gilmore Kernigan. John Catherine King. Kashin Phoebe Kwok. Waiting Tiffany Lam. Angel Ka Ching Lau. Rania Lazarek. Colum Lim. Melissa Mary Loughlin. Anya Charlotte Love. Katie MacDonald. Mohammed Mahmoud, Joseph Malcolm, Laurie Beth Malcolm, Hannah Louise Masterton, Brogan McAdam, John David McAnena, Gabriel McBride, Siobhan McBride, Eamon McColgan, Jennifer McCormick, Chloe McCulloch, Rachel Carruthers McGinn, Erin Rose McKay, Cara Francesca McKenna, Catherine McNee, Lisa McNeil, Molly Muneer, Anugura Nakimi bin Muhammad Othman, Ellie Margaret Monaghan, Chloe Marion Montegu, Ali Morad, Rose Moran, Alexandra Maria Elizabeth Morera, Claire Morrison, Hamad Ikram Mukhtar, Olivia Sarah Mullen, Chloe Ann Murphy, Sana Nassar, Olivia Rose Neal, Lauren Catherine Nicholson, Ofe Namani, Sagareka Ocha, Eve O'Neill, Amy Pavis, Bethan Marie Perrott, I Oana Poliodoru, Romina Pornashir Kaspaz. Ellie Ramsey. Yusuf Aladdin Kamal Rashid. Sasha Renee Zabala Rez. Agsa Rayas. Evie Philippa Robb. Rachel Robertson. Rohan Salwan. Mohammed Timur Shad. Riha Seji. Aman Sheikh. Ayesha Siddiqui. Haley Smart. Jordan William Strachan Smith. Tara Jean Smith. Ruth Joanne Stevenson. Kirsty Stewart. Hannah Sterling. Ailey Marie Taylor. Lauren Thompson. Natasha Umar. Muhammad Wagas. Leba Wezig. Siema Yusuf. Mariam Al-Namash. Ayman Al-Bastaki. Munira Aluseme. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Physics, Alana Fern Buckleton. Evangelia Delia Pornaidu. Keir Dougal. Craig Edwards. Ross Kane. Kimberly Chelsea Nicholson. Ewan Donachi. Che Margaret Gwynn. Liliane Kumere. Ross McInnes. Chloe Lee Olson. Robert Parr. Derek James Terry. Andrew Cook. Fraser Graham Dawson. Jonathan Mark Fletcher. Ian Tate. Stuart Gordon Beattie. Angus Morrison. Struan Robertson Hall. Sean Daniel McGarvey. In physics with teaching, Sam Robert Templeton. Jack Dylan Godden. Aaron Taylor. Jade Jardine. In Physics with Teaching International, Rakia Suliyam Suleiman Al-Abri. Maha Kalfan Abdallah Al-Majbali. And for the degree of Master of Pharmacy in Pharmacy, Lewis Grant French.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give the class of 2022 a big round of applause. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Strathclyde graduates, as you all are now, let me reiterate our warm welcome to this wonderful ceremony, a day that none of you will forget. It marks the successful conclusion of many years of hard work, and now you've graduated in front of your friends, your families, your supporters, and indeed the staff of the university. And today we welcome visitors from all parts of Scotland, from across the UK, from across Europe, because we're proud to be a European community, albeit the political bent is not in support of that, but we are European in spirit, and of course from across that wonderful international community. We're delighted to see you all here to join in the celebrations, because Strathclyde is an institution where freedom of thought is valued and encouraged. We're a place that seeks to be tolerant and inclusive, and where people of diverse national, cultural and social backgrounds can come together to enjoy excellent education and, very importantly, a shared student experience. At Strathclyde, we all benefit from having staff and students from over 100 countries here on the campus. Ours is a socially progressive community, one that seeks to be an exemplar of modern society. We are plural, we're multicultural, and we are enlightened. It's our responsibility, graduates, it is your responsibility to continue to challenge unacceptable practices, including by those in power. And my goodness, we've had plenty to challenge over the past couple of years. But let us use reason and exemplify the best features of modern society. The horrors that we're seeing in Eastern Europe is unacceptable. Tyranny, illegality, and inhumanity. And you, graduates of Strathclyde, have to face that down in your everyday lives, as well as pressing our politicians to do the right things in the right way and in a timely manner. But of course, most importantly, we're here today to acknowledge your hard work, the learning that you've built up, and the successful completion of your degree courses. These will be your passports to making a full contribution not only to your career and to society, but also it allows you to be resilient and face into the flux that we are facing. And you heard from Carl about that direct principle. Take that forward and make sure you couple that with your Strathclyde values of being people-centric, ambitious, innovative, collaborative and bold. And that means taking a chance, taking a risk, but doing it in the right way. And here we are, of course, celebrating this season, which is the first regular in-person graduation ceremony programme since the pandemic. And that's had far-reaching and unprecedented impacts on all of our lives. However, we have seen that the pandemic has challenged our health systems, has impacted our economies, and it's changed the way in which we work and study. It wasn't planned this way, but coronavirus ultimately, I think, will be seen as one of the biggest drivers this century for digitisation and hopefully net zero as we find new ways to work and be active. However, we have also seen what society can achieve by working together through collaboration, and it's placed science, engineering, technology, education at the front of finding the solutions to the challenges that we face. And it was science, universities and innovative industry that delivered vaccines for the COVID-19 virus in record time. Yvonne Perry, our professor who leads the Strathclyde Institute for Pharmacy and Biomedical Sciences, played a key role in supporting the UK government and that community to going forward to understand how to manufacture effectively these vaccines and get them distributed. I have to say we also had an unexpected benefit insofar as last year we had one of the biggest ever philanthropic donations to a UK university. One of our alum, double graduate, Dr. Charles Wang, donated £50 million to the university. And you won't know his name necessarily, but you may have seen the name of his company, Innova Medical Group, on the sides of the lateral flow test that so many of us had to use over the past 2.5 years. Charles, ironically, was educated first in Wuhan, and then he came to Strathclyde, and he's now in the process of setting up a £1 billion fund to help educate and prepare the next generation of graduates to innovate, to research, and make a difference in the world. And because of his generosity, we're now going to accelerate our programmes in science, engineering, and technology. Also, of course, we have to address climate change. As a university community, we are very aware of our responsibilities to reduce our impact on the planet. We want to educate for sustainable development. We want to make a difference ourselves. That's why we've set a target to reduce our carbon emissions by 70% by 2025 and to reach net zero well before 2040. As many of you know, you'll have participated. We had COP26 here. What a privilege for our city. It put Glasgow on the world stage, and the world came here to engage in appropriate discussion, challenging each other, but also setting the course of the Glasgow Climate Pact to move towards net zero for 2050, or as quickly as we possibly can. I had the privilege of meeting Presidential Special Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, here in the city. We hosted him for dinner. Alok Sharma, who's currently the president of COP, was on campus to launch the Conference of Youth, and what an energetic group that was. The week before COP came here, we had many hundreds of young people from around the world coming here to set the agenda, not to be passive, but to challenge my generation to do the right things and right the wrongs of what we've seen in the past. Many of these accidents happened just by that process, by accident. We had a vision for what we tried to create, an environment and economy, but we now see the consequences. And because we caused the problem, collectively we need to address this by coming up with solutions to solve that problem. The highlight, of course, is that we had President, or ex-President Barack Obama here on campus. Mr. Obama spent the afternoon with us here to visit young people, to talk about their activism, to key into their understanding, their knowledge, their passion and commitment to make a difference. And as he left the campus and he was going into one of his vehicles, he turned round and said two simple words to the crowd. By the way, you can't keep a secret when Barack Obama's in town. Because of security, we'd kept things quiet, but through the power of Twitter and every other social media channel, we had about 600 people outside the building by the time he left. He turned to the gathered masses and said, "Get active." And that's what I'd like to say to you today, Strathclyde graduates. Get active. Take the updraft, as it were, of your degree, take the learning and the personal growth you've had while you're at Strathclyde, but get there out into the world and make a difference. And I'm sure with the confidence that you have, with the skills and with the passion that you have, you will indeed make a difference as you go forward. And Strathclyde made a difference to me in my life. I was brought up here in Glasgow, in a small sunny hamlet that some of you may have heard of called Govan, just on the south side of the river. My father and my two brothers served their time in the Fairfield shipyards, and they, and a very ambitious mother for me, set me on my path to come here. My goodness, in 1974, as a very talented 7-year-old boy, I have to say. Not many people can get to university at that age, but anyway, I came here, and Govan has a very important motto, and it's nihil sine labore. And there's nothing without hard work. So you're smart, you're accomplished, you're ambitious, you've got passion, but work hard. Apply yourselves. Have fun. You've done that here in Strathclyde as well, but do that as you go forward. And I try to embrace that ethos every day as I come in here to work with a fantastic group of colleagues, a great community of students to make a difference. But today you've become members of the Strathclyde alumni community, and you're the latest of our torchbearers, just like those of many generations that have gone before you. And now that all that you've successfully come through, I'm sure that you would agree that you couldn't have done this without the backing and the encouragement of the community of supporters around you. As the first in my own family to have come here, I understand that need not only for practical support, but for moral support and that encouragement. So graduates and university staff, please join me in thanking these wonderful families, these friends, these supporters for all that they've done to make today possible. Thank you very much indeed. And for our excellent academic staff and our professional services staff too, this is a very special day for them because your success is ultimately their reward. And we've worked hard to provide you with high-quality education and a first-class university experience for all of our students, regardless of background. So, graduates of Strathclyde, please join me now in thanking the staff for everything they've done for you. Thank you. So as you leave the hall today, I want you to remember a few things about your institution because you're Strathclyders now. Strathclyde is 226 years old this year. We were the only university to be established during the time of the Scottish Enlightenment, a time of challenge, spreading across Europe. It had resonances in North America as well. And Strathclyde came into being as Anderson's institution. And although we're over 200 years old, I still like to maintain that spirit of a startup organisation, ambitious, hunger for implementation, and recognising that through collaboration we can make a difference. And throughout our history, Strathclyde has been absolutely faithful to our founding principles. We were established, and it was in the language of the day, and I quote, for the benefit of all mankind. But that means is being out there, useful learning. Our founder, Professor John Anderson, who was a natural philosopher or physicist, as we would have it today, had strong links to Benjamin Franklin, a well-known American inventor. He also helped set up the University of Pennsylvania in 1751, whose motto is useful knowledge. And that inspired Anderson. Franklin came to Scotland a number of times, and our founder accompanied him, particularly when he went to St Andrews University to get his honorary degree. Anderson was by his side. And he was stimulated by what was going on in Europe, like von Humboldt, he was stimulated by Franklin. So that useful learning piece was meaningful then, and it's never more meaningful than it's required to be these days. It's known by all of our staff and students, and still defines our purpose as an international technological university that seeks to be socially progressive. And these are not words, that's in our DNA, that's the two strands of our DNA, useful learning and social progression. And for example, across our campus today, in the buildings that you'll have passed on the way to the Barony Hall, you will please note that our students and our staff are working on drugs to diagnose and fight diseases. For example, we've got several drugs in trial just now in the area of cancer treatment, kidney disease, infection management, and inflammatory diseases. Strathclyders are working on the next generation of energy technologies and policy solutions to tackle climate change and to establish a low-carbon economy. We're seeking to revolutionise global manufacturing and helping to stimulate and drive the fourth industrial revolution, so-called Industry 4.0, through robotics, AI, data analytics and automation. Our students are continuing their work in Africa, establishing clean water and power supplies, deploying healthcare systems in remote communities, and introducing new telecommunications infrastructure. They're also bringing prosthetic limb and bioengineering technologies to those in need in other parts of the world. But we also work to inform public policy through evidence and analysis and independent thought, not just opinion. And we're driving our inputs to national economic strategy and also driving strategies for education, health, energy and innovation. Down in George Street, we have the Technology and Innovation Centre, or the TIC building. That's over £100 million worth of investment there with our colleagues, many from the departments that you're graduating from today, working on energy and photonics and pharmaceuticals. The American inventor, Thomas Edison, an electrical engineer, he called his technical teams and laboratories his inventions factory. We'd like to think that TIC is becoming our innovations factory. And the investment we're about to make, subject to our court's approval, is another £150 million to build the next TIC building to address areas such as medtech, fintech, quantum technology, industrial informatics, 6G communications and space technology. And out at the airport, now that we're getting a little bit more mobile, keep an eye at the edge of the runway as you're leaving, and you'll see two very large buildings that have appeared there over the past year. One is a large serrated roof. That's the National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland, and adjacent to it is the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre. But £200 million worth of investment, taking what Strathclyde does best, excellent research that's translated to impact, and working with GSK, AstraZeneca, Rolls-Royce, Boeing and Airbus to bring that Industry 4.0 and that accelerated low-carbon manufacturing technology there. But useful learning I've mentioned a few times, that's about providing business and industry with the tools that they need to be more innovative and to promote economic growth. And that helps create jobs that provides us all with a better quality of life that is both sustainable and healthy. So in the city just now, we're driving a programme that will create around 4,000 to 5,000 jobs in the next 5 years because of the Glasgow City Innovation District. And out at the airport in Renfrew, another 7,000 to 8,000 jobs over the next decade, creating jobs, everything from apprenticeships through degrees through to higher degrees, as we build a world-class workforce that not only supports Scottish industry, but attracts inward investment. And of course, these are some of the reasons we've had a terrific sequence of external recognition of what we do and how we do it. The higher education sector in the UK has the Times Higher Education Awards every year. Strathclyde is the only university to have won the UK University of the Year twice because of the excellence of our academics and the fortitude and the contributions from our students. But we're also the Scottish Times, or the Sunday Times Scottish University of the Year and Higher Education Workplace of the Year. So it's not just about what we're doing, but how we're doing it. Values-led, inclusive, and focused on being true to our founding principles. So Strathclyde always seeks to have an ability to have a disproportionate impact. Principally, and let me stress this, through all of you. It's our graduates that make the difference. It's you that go out there into your careers, into your lives, into society, and make a difference. And you take that courage and take that enjoyment with you. And we try to create value and impact. The Scottish Government invests about £1.2 billion a year into Scottish universities. We have to be seen as an investment, not a cost, because in return, Scottish higher education puts £10 billion back into the economy. That is an important multiplier. But of course, first and foremost, it's the contributions of the Faculty of Science that we're celebrating today. And there is much to celebrate, and I have to give you, sadly, very much edited highlights. There's an entity called Fraunhofer in Germany. It's a long-standing innovation activity. We have the Fraunhofer Centre here at Strathclyde. It's now moving into its third 5-year spell with over £6 million worth of funding from Scottish Government, working in quantum technology, healthcare and life sciences, and everything from renewable energy to navigation and space. Professor Martin Dawson of the Department of Physics is Director of Research at the Institute of Photonics and head of Fraunhofer Centre for Applied Photonics, has just been elected as a Fellow of the Royal Society. Pinnacle of scientific recognition. And another colleague, Professor Alistair Ferguson, has just received the CBE for contributions to photonics. Fantastic recognition of them separately, but also about the quality of what the Strathclyde community has been doing. Strathclyde's also been involved in researching a new tool which is highly effective in treating types of tumours which are resistant to other forms of radiation. And the tool uses high-powered lasers to generate a beam of carbon ions with the ability to target cancerous tumours. Strathclyde alumnus John Paul Mackay was named Pharmacist of the Year in the Independent Pharmacy Awards, and well done to John Paul. And we've also, amongst many other things, been undertaking research with industry partners to develop an app to determine individual women's risk of preeclampsia, a real challenge for women's health, and its potential severity being measured, including post-birth complications. And research involving Strathclyde-designed nanoparticles, much of it led by our Dean of the Science Faculty, Professor Duncan Graham, seeks to communicate with and slow the development of cancer cells. And that study offers a novel framework for the potential development of drug-free cancer therapies. And I mentioned the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre. That is built on the excellence of SIBS, the Strathclyde Institute for Pharmacy and Biomedical Sciences, going to continuous manufacturing and crystallisation technologies to produce medicines more effectively, quickly, with a whole new manufacturing technology. So there's much more I could share, but we should move on. This is the exciting context in which you graduate and you should view your awards. You're now graduates of a university that places our students at the heart of everything that we do. We have to value, and we should, education and research excellence, but we create strong connections with society at large, including with the business world. And with regard to internationalisation, every good university seeks to collaborate internationally. We also seek to contribute and compete on the international stage, and we're no different. In the United States, our key partners are Stanford, New York University, and MIT, with strong partnerships at University of Southern California and Waterloo in Canada. In China, we work with Peking and Tsinghua universities, number 1 and 2 in that country, and the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. But very importantly, we treasure our association with our European partners. In spite of Brexit, the ongoing links between researchers, academics, and many of the business community is fundamental. In spite of the political flux that we've faced, that is important. And with excellent universities such as Delft Technical University, we can work together to give our students opportunity and come up with better solutions for the wicked problems that the world faces. But all of you, our students, have also benefited from being part of an international university. This is helping you to leave here with the skills so necessary for yourselves and Scotland and the countries that you will pursue your careers in, but you've also been exposed, importantly, to the richness and the value of different cultures and traditions. And you're leaving here today, hopefully, understanding your obligations as global citizens. And with regard to our socially progressive mission, I'm proud to share with you on behalf of my colleagues that we remain the Scottish research-intensive university that admits the highest number of young people from the most challenged communities here in Scotland. Some 1,300 came here from the communities that I was brought up in. It's referred to as the Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation. So I came from the lowest quartile. I never felt multiply deprived because I felt loved, I felt supported, but didn't have the means. And we had 1,300 of these young people join us. And in spite of what people might think, we've retained our 5th highest admission level in the UK, making a nonsense, as it were, that standards are adversely affected through strategic commitment to widening access. Whilst this is the early days of this graduation process, 2 weeks ago in this hall, we had the Children's University graduation. I'm Chancellor of the Children's University. It's a great privilege. And we had 5-year-old to 12-year-old young people with their capes, with their mortar boards, from Govan, from Easterhouse, from Blackhill, from other parts of the community, and their mothers and fathers were in the hall with them, the vast majority of them never having stepped across the threshold of a university. And we were here to celebrate. It was joyful. And if I could have bottled the enthusiasm in the room that day, I'd have a new form of renewable energy. They go to the Burrell Collection or the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery, they get their digital passport stamped. They go to night classes, they get another credit. If they go to the Science Centre, they'll get a double credit. And I had youngsters coming along here with a bachelor's degree, with a master's degree, and those that have been at it for 2 or 3 years. I had 12-year-old PhD students across this stage. So look out for that, staff. You'll be having PhD students starting your degree programmes before long. And as my colleagues know, and I mention it often, I particularly enjoy those ceremonies because it's one of the graduation ceremonies where I get to look tall with all these small folk with the capes. So not all of them, I have to say. But let me conclude. If I were to characterise Strathclyde in 2022, I would describe it as being distinctive, but also having ambition, focus and momentum, and continue to work with agility and commitment to absorb and navigate the political and economic uncertainties that we all face. It's a true privilege for me to lead this great organisation with the outstanding support I get from my executive team, from the academics, the professional services staff and the other support staff. And I truly believe that our founder, John Anderson, would recognise what we are doing now as the realisation of what he sought to establish during the Scottish Enlightenment, namely useful learning. And to all of you now in the Barony Hall, I'm certain that today's graduates will have enormous impacts on society, and that 2022 can become a vintage year. You are a fantastic cohort of students. You've shown resilience in the face of adversity. You've shown maturity as you've conducted yourselves through this, and you've ultimately been successful. We are very, very proud of you. And with that in mind, as you leave the hall today, please remember you also have a responsibility. You're joining an alumni community of almost 200,000 Strathclyders. And remember that whatever you do with your degree, and wherever you go to work, just bear in mind that truly useful learning means that you apply your knowledge for the benefits of others, you make a positive impact for yourselves, and never forget the communities that you belong to. Respect diversity and value freedom of expression and thought, and reach conclusions and resolve disputes through reason and tolerance. These characterise the core values of your university. So, to today's wonderful celebration, we're here to mark your achievements, and you've now received your degrees. On behalf of the university, I'd like to extend my sincerest congratulations to you all and wish you every success in your future careers. Please stay in touch with us and let us know about your progress. So well done, and please enjoy the rest of this very special day. Thank you. So just as we close, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude the ceremony, we're going to process down the aisle. We go out the hall and we're going to turn right and head over to our new Learning and Teaching building where there's a reception with some refreshments for you to enjoy and for us to circulate. So I do hope we can see most of you, if not all of you, across there. So again, graduates, very well done to all of you. Families, friends and supporters, enjoy the rest of the day. I now declare the congregation closed. Thank you very much indeed.